Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Cherish. I am the head of community at SAWO Labs, and thank you all for joining. And first of all, I want to tell you what we're doing here. This is the first episode of SAWO Vibe Check. It's a series where we check the constant changing environment of community and other technical spaces. Today, for our first episode, we have Prabhat, who's also the founder and the CEO of SAWO Labs, and Ayushi, who's a manager CEO office and also a product manager with my team. Thanks again for joining us. And with this, I will tell you more about Prabhat and Ayushi. But let's call them on stage and hear from them for themselves. If I can have both of you on stage. Hi, Prabhat. Hi, Ayushi.
Hey Cherish,
Hey, how are you guys doing?
great. How are you?
Awesome. Thanks. Prabhat, first of all, thanks for joining. First episode of Savo Vibe Check. We'll be constantly checking the vibe of community and technical spaces and ecosystem around the world. Pretty cool initiative, I must say. And thanks for the budget and the approvals also. uh, with that, I want to let my audience know more about you. So I want to know more about your journey and Ayushi yours as well. Prabhat, we'll start with you. Tell us how did Savo came into existence, a little bit about your background as well.
Sure. So essentially, Sava started as a pet project, something that I really wanted to solve. A problem that has been around us, has troubled a lot of us. Troubled me, troubled my mom, troubled every single person around us throughout the lockdown majorly, right? Because there was nothing, there was nothing apart from digital entertainment that we all had. And when it comes to digital existence of all of us, uh, customer onboarding is really important, and that's when login and sign up come in. And that's exactly where OTPs and passwords have played a huge part for what the last three and a half, 4 decades now. And as there has been no continuous innovation in the same space, we have been facing problems with respect to the success rate, with respect to speed, and all of those things. So ended up solving it. While building itself, I remember exploring community as a mode to growth, and that's essentially how we started building Savo in itself from scratch. In the initial conversations itself, I remember. I've not been to I've not been in the college scene as much as you all have been, so don't really know how these developer circles work and all of that. So I remember talking to Ayushi and trying to figure out how Google Developer Circle works, how the Facebook developer community is being working, and a couple of these things. And that's essentially how we, started building all of this.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Actually, obviously, clear impact about you starting communities and what Prabhat just mentioned. Your initial discussions. Tell
Yeah.
us how you landed in product and how did you together thought of having a community team altogether.
Right. Okay. So I remember one day. I would like to introduce myself first. I started with Savo before its incorporation. I was one of the first employees. We started working. We started documenting. Everything was very fast, but very interesting, very intriguing. And one day I was just talking to Prabhat, and Prabhat was like, I'm trying to figure out like should we go in the enterprise way or should we like target some SMEs, or how what should be the probable strategy for this. And we were just normally talking, and I just pitched him that I am part of these certain groups which revolves around ML or AI or other dev groups, which because coming from a technical background. So it was something which was already there in my college years, and I thought that if something like Savo would have been there in those years, things would have been much easier. And targeting people in that particular segment uh, it's comparatively easy because you can actually reach out to them directly and they're ready to listen. These are
Hmm.
those people who are in their early 20s, who are ready to talk about new things, who are ready to adapt to new things, and they're like, okay, something new is coming up. Okay, bring it on. We're ready to try it. We are ready to give feedbacks. So that was one thing I pitched to him, that okay, these are certain groups we can talk to and we can see how it goes. I wasn't sure that community as a market was the right fit at that point. But that was one thing which came to my mind, that okay, maybe I can pitch something like this and let's see where it goes. So that is how we
Fair enough.
started, and today you know where we are. Like you are the one heading it, so yeah, definitely.
Fair enough. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, and yeah, like I want to mention this to my audience that a lot of us actually build startups and build products and never really consider the community-led growth or even community as a GTM. Now, this clearly must have happened for SAWO Labs as well. And Prabhat, I want to know what were the initial challenges that made you realize that this can be solved through community having, community as a team and then using community-led growth as a GTM altogether.
So I would like to reflect upon how GTM as a concept essentially evolved across startups, right? So you realize that you've built a product that can be sold. So the journey of a startup essentially works like the journey that we all have had across 2000s till today, right? Like it's just faster. It's just like rather than working 6 to 8 hours a day, you end up working what 16, 18 hours a day and keeps going, and hence you cover almost a decade or two within 6 to 8 months. So uh, uh, the evolution of GTMs, essentially starts from what sales-led growth, where you pick up a product, go to 10 people, and say, you know what, take this, and then you realize, oh shit, we have social media, we have other digital medium. So you start talking about a product, and people randomly come in on and start picking it up, and that's how you proceed. And then you realize maybe there could be a closed group of individuals where you could have a better conversion speed, a better feedback loop, a better agenda, and more intent to pick what you are building. And that's what happened to us. We started with sales led growth, and we decided to go, to talk to say 15 enterprise, 20 enterprises a week, and then reflected upon the feedback, then went back to building it from building it towards marketing led growth. Decided to sell it across mediums, Google AdWords, Google Ads, SEO, SEM, all of that mess. And then I remember having this conversation where we decided to approach an audience which was captive, which would talk to us more, which would give us more feedback, which was more selfless, and which could obviously behave like an information system eventually, to take over the roadmap as well as other things that we would build. So the only reason why I think one of the reasons why I think people should adopt community early on is just for the level of feedback that you get on a daily basis.
Absolutely, that makes ton of sense, right? And you clearly mentioned how community helped you grow the product by giving you constant feedback. Also, the dissemination and the distribution is also very natural because these people are receptive and early adopters because developers by inherently are curious, right? That makes sense. Ayushi, any significant product changes or anything that community kind of contributed towards that help you align towards a better approach product wise?
Actually, yes. So earlier, when we were building the product, everything was revolving around what we think, what we as part of SAWO think is a problem for us. But then eventually, when we started talking to all these devs, or we started doing developer roundtables recently, and also talking to a lot of people who are in this ecosystem, are either devs or PMs for that matter, that helped us realize that okay, this is something which is not just a product and we just have to give it away as an API, but is something which we can actually take from them. Because uh, from the space where I come from, I think taking the uh, taking the I'm sorry. Okay. Taking anything from the audience or taking anything from the customer is a must in today's day. So if this was as good as going out to them, telling them that this is what we do, what do you think about it? And then taking their feedbacks and listing them down and saying, okay, this is something we can actually inculcate in our project or inculcate in our product, and say, okay, this is something which will actually help people eventually. So we started partnering with cloud platforms. We started going no code because a lot of people nowadays, they're very enthusiastic about building something, but are not ready or not very enthusiastic about coding. So all these no code platforms, it's very easy for them to build something and just get started the very next day. So we went all in for no code platforms we went all in for. Cloud platforms, we also tried to talk to different people around the ecosystem to understand that on what we can do in our core product. So these are the things which we realized over time, and which also helped the product grow and mature over time. Yeah.
Makes sense, right? And this is you mentioned a very pertinent point here that we got always say that your feedback is gold for us, and this is
Yeah.
something that community will realize that our roadmap is inherently shaped by shaped by what you think and what how your feedback is, right? Also, I want to go back to Prabhat and ask more about um, what has changed ever since you've adopted community. What do you think would be the next steps, and how can developers and the developer community altogether help you reach those goals?
Sure. What has changed in the last couple of months is the speed at which we react to uh, the trends. I also realized that earlier when I used to look at social listening as a concept where we would want to listen to every single person talking about authentication across Twitter or any other channel. I don't really need to do that extensively now alone or as a company. I think the community does that for you. I remember, people in the community randomly sending it across, telling us across about how a certain person is talking about auth on a certain sort. Essentially, reduces the kind of resources we require to do a level of execution, and of course, speed increases to a level at which you can't even imagine. And that is what we have gained as a company. Whenever people come back to me and want to know what more we are doing around the product, it sounds as a surprise about how we have done so much in 6 months. And of course, that's a separate thing that I still keep shouting at you people about how we are slow. But it definitely is what the community has given us: the speed and the level of sharpness in execution.
Yeah, makes sense. And one of the reasons why we have reached that momentum is there are a lot of hackathon partners that we are kind of onboarding, right? And every hackathon partner, what we do is we encourage participants and hackers to build on SAWO API. Now, what happens is whenever they build on SAWO API, not only are they eligible for the rewards and the swags that we give out, but also they are eligible for our SAWO sponsorship program, where we based on like if they're a developer or an advocate, we kind of give them a reward and we hold them together, as a community. Now, if you're a developer, you can build further and you get invited to our product roundtables, and you get invited to early access to our product. But if you're an advocate, you write about us, talk about us, or give us feedback or just advocate about the product. We incentivize accordingly. One of the things that you said, Prabhat, was that people listening for us on social media and tagging us whenever there was an approach is a brilliant example of somebody advocating for us organically,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And that's where we're heading. So a lot of hackathons are coming your way. So keep an eye for them, and reach out to us in case you have any problems. One more thing I want to talk about is that tell us more about the distribution, the freemium model that we have, and anybody open to Ayushi or Prabhat, both of you, and how are developers contributing to that momentum altogether?
Okay, so I would like to take this one. Earlier, when we started out, we started with 1,500 free authentications, but then eventually, when we went into the direction of community and when we started talking to all these people, and they were very enthusiastic. I remember this one time when we did this hackathon. There was this kid, and he's in eighth standard, and he participated, and it was very nice to see all these things happening, and it was very uh, like I was very overwhelmed with that, and I just thought that maybe, and I had a discussion with Prabhat also regarding the same, that why not go for an increased amount of premium and not just go for 1,500, maybe, because all these people who are making projects right now in their college, and they're actually trying to build something which they might execute eventually, or will maybe they'll start something with it. So going for a higher premium made more sense, and giving out to the community, because when we are taking so much and when we are taking so many feedbacks and realizing and building our product roadmaps on all these things, we thought that there's something we should also give away to the community, and that is why we increased our premium, and it made it 5,000 authentication. So anyone who feels like adapting to SAWO is free to take 5,000 free authentications. They can come via Product Hunt and all these other places through which they can even get 10,000 authentications. So that was one thought process behind it. Prabhat, over to you if you want to add something.
Sure. While building for enterprises, what I was thinking was maybe, I would give them a month or two for free, which would be their pilot period or trial period, and that would be my freemium at time, and then I could start charging them on the basis of what their volumes are going to be. Uh, but eventually, when we took the community-led approach, we decided that maybe we should be more inclusive, be more sure about what kind of volumes we are looking at when it comes to the community, and then charge for the rest. So that is why we went for freemium by volume, and hence we started giving 5,000 authentications, initially 1,500, but then 5,000 authentications per month. So that every month a dev who wants to build or keep trying something can do it for free and be more innovative about what he's doing, so that we as a company can take the pain of authentication and the cost that come with it, and the dev can just focus on what he wants to build and how passionate he or she is about whatever it is.
Perfect. Got it. So, and in this kind of, you spoke clearly about the distribution model that you had, how you had planned freemium. In the industry, have you seen anybody else use the same approach using community? Like, what are the most creative ways have you seen people use the power of community to scale and grow their product and the company itself?
Uh, it's crazy how people have found the ways to deal with the community, right? And it's been great how large organizations have come out of that. I keep talking about, I'm sure you guys know which company I'm going to name now, but I keep talking about Postman. I keep talking about Hasura, about how they started, with the community-led approach itself. Like, it's lovely how Hasura actually started as an open source project and gotten all the whole community hooked to that, their initial GraphQL database systems that they built on, and then they built the GraphQL cloud, which they started charging on, but that was on top of the whole community base feedback that they had already built. And it's crazy how they started giving backend as a service, and started giving the whole there's a whole section of developers which really want to focus more on design and not on functionality. And Hasura understood in their early stages itself that maybe if the whole unnecessarily tiring phase of backend could be taken away, and just if we could just let them focus on the design and the UX and other things that come on the front end, it would be really good for the developer to take over. And I really like that whole approach about how they did that for a good 3 years, by the way. For 3 years, they didn't have any monetization strategy, and that's crazy.
Yeah.
And kudos to people like Samir Brichurma from Nexus to actually support an initiative like this and to understand why community is more important. Now, of course, now Hasura has gone a long way. It's a $150 million valuation, but all of that came from the community organically.
Yeah. Huge, right? Like things like these were unheard of maybe 5 6 years ago in India. And
Yeah.
I keep talking about how like community is still it started to kind of gain traction in India, like especially after COVID. I've seen huge spike in community manager roles. But I remember like I when I started with community back in 2013, I initially thought this is something that people do out of pure joy, will, and like service. This can't necessarily be like a job because I couldn't find it out there in the system. And one of the things which kind of blew my mind away when I realized the power of communities was because I was working with Google at that time. I realized that they had launched a Android platform, but for them to populate that platform, they would need a lot of Android developers, right? And hence the platform grows, the application grows. Now the challenge there was that they didn't have a lot of Android developers in India because clearly new language, new platform, how will they develop? So they launched a lot of programs for Android community, and now everything that they incentivize everybody. They did Android MOOCs, they did Android support system growth and everything, and now everybody is on Play Store. Now even kids as young as seventh standard, like Ayushi said, are launching their apps, and everybody's like minting money now that we know of. It's great, right? Like because all of this came from communities, and they realized it early on. Completely visionary strategy from Google, and and you like you mentioned, even Hasura went the same way. This is pretty, awesome to hear and very comforting to know that we are kind of evolving in that space. Just one more thing I want to know that when we for the next space that we have for our community, what do you think? What are our expectations from them? Like, what do you think as an ideal community member? What can they contribute towards? Ayushi, if you want to take that, and Prabhat, if you can follow up.
Okay, yeah. So what we expect out of the community is nothing apart from support and feedback, I would say. That feedback, like Cherish always says, feedback is gold for us. So all we expect is communication, giving them various options so that they also know that there's a reason, and why should they go for SAWO and not for someone else in the market. Because not just because we are a product or we are someone who's just trying to sell something, but we are also trying to build a community where people can actually learn from one another and realize, okay, these are the things they can adapt from each other and talk about various projects they've been doing. So major thing which we expect out of them is definitely adoption, but thing that we are ready to give them is maybe learning, knowledge, and a close knit community which is ready to help one another.
Makes sense. Yeah, communication is of course essential. Peer to
Definitely.
peer learning trumps everything, right? Yeah, makes
Yeah.
sense. Okay, I want to do a very quick fun session for like maybe next 2-3 minutes. It's going to be a rapid fire.
Okay.
Prabhat, I'll start with you. Uh, you clearly know the rules of rapid fire, but I'll keep it open ended. Yes. Okay.
Sure.
5 questions very quickly. Okay. Three mistakes that people make when starting up.
Uh, Bootstrapping, closed room development, and no feedback or consumer interviews.
Fair enough. Okay. Three mistakes people should make when starting up.
Mm,
Hire whoever you feel like to a gut call when it comes to design, and three, uh, make sure you talk as much as you can. That wastes time, but that sounds like a mistake when you're doing it, but it really works.
Okay. Last one. Aisha, you want to take that last mistake that people should make? Something that they should probably go with gut.
no, no, no. I am not that great with these games. I think I'll give it to
Okay.
Prabhat. Yeah.
Okay. 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 Three qualities, or maybe just one single most important quality when hiring somebody.
Passion.
In
I can teach the rest.
Ayushi.
Whoa. um, Definitely passion, but also that urge to actually learn.
Ah,
Because when you're
okay.
hiring someone,
Fair enough. Okay. All right. So, most important part of like a founder's day, most important thing in your entire day or routine.
I think it's more about taking time away from execution and thinking more about what you're going to do 60 days later.
Hmm.
And until those 60 days, I'm sure it's just about execution, about what you decided before that, right? So it's just uh, every 60th day at a time.
Hmm. Making 60-day plans. Fair. Ayushi, for you, single most important thing for a product manager to develop.
relationships.
Interesting. That's very cool. You would, a lot of product managers would think that their tech is their moat or their skill. Boy, are they
Yeah.
wrong. Awesome. Okay, that was fun. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for playing along. I want to move to our next session where we ask any questions that the community might have asked, and then from there we'll take it further. So somebody has asked how to make the most of the student community. What can student community do at best to help businesses? Any of you, feel free to jump in.
I think there's two words to it. One is adopt, and the other would be communicate.
Hmm.
That's all I think they can do, and that's the most, in fact, that they can do. Prabhat.
Student community, I can actually answer this in multiple ways, right? Just to define why the student community and the early ripe stage is important is how I started SAWO itself, right? Like I hired two students themselves, and the whole company was built on two students. In fact, Cherish, one of the most important people in our leadership team, is still a student, and 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 to define why student communities are important and how to make the most of them, I believe it's more about how you feel, how you make them feel important. It's also about the continuous communication and making sure that they are not left out. I see even in the small time that I spent in college, how much ever that was. I remember looking at campus ambassadors being appointed as campus ambassadors, but never there was no communication with them for months altogether. I think the constant communication that Ayushi pointed out, and the third thing is, of course, giving them value that is aligned to what your values and what your brand credentials are. This would essentially make them walk on your brand dream, and of course, will give you a lot of output from them.
Yeah, fair enough. That makes sense. I'll quickly take a stab at answering that as well. So I work with student communities quite a lot, quite extensively. In fact, they were the best people to work with, just because that enthusiasm that you have as an 18-year-old. I think the last time I had that level of enthusiasm, I was probably 5.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. So okay, let's imagine a scenario, right? You're a developer who's in first year. What motivates you? What will force you to build more of what you love? One is you're learning. You're learning just by building, because you can't learn through books or videos. So the first thing is learning. If I can enhance your learning, help you in your learning, you'll do more of what I say or what I put out, right? So students need to learn, and businesses need to give people, students, what they really want to learn. That's first. The second thing is every student looks for credibility, because after 4 years, they want to make sure that they're credible enough to get a job. The whole vicious cycle of like get an experience and get a job, get an experience, no job, no experience, no job. That is extremely vicious, and that can only be broken by some credibility that people get using internships and some projects that they've done, right? So the credibility comes from either projects or internships. So give people the credibility that they want by giving them adoptions or projects that they want. That's the second thing. The third thing is recognition. Now, a lot of people like you will be doing the same things as you are doing. They'll also be getting credibility. But how do you rank against your peers? Unfortunately, we live in a world or in a country where there are like tons and millions of developers. And if you're working hard, somebody's working harder, no matter where you are, whoever you are, right? So you need some recognition that your work was chosen amongst, amongst other people, and that gives you the feeling of being recognized and seen. That's the feedback that Ayushi spoke of, right? That's the third point. So 3 points are learning, credibility, and recognition. I keep repeating this to student communities, and I keep repeating this to businesses who are building student communities. I hope this answers your question, whoever had asked that. I want to ask one more question. I want to see if we have any more questions. Okay. How do you keep a community excited about the same thing? For example, let's say auth for a long period, like 18, 24 months. Fair enough. Prabhat, you want to take that?
Sure, why not? Not like something I really would want to talk about. Essentially, when it comes to keeping a community excited for longer, it's all about why. I would like to take this question back and reflect upon it in a different manner. See, why do you think we are excited about auth for 8 and 24 months? Only because we are working on it on a daily basis. We know what are the possibilities, what are the use cases, how we are changing lives, how we are living in a fast-paced environment. It's all about the kind of growth that we see around us and kind of growth that we see inside us with respect to auth, right? And I think that's what you can keep reflecting on the community as well. You can keep running feedbacks with them. You can keep involving them into a product roadmap. You can go back to them and say, you know what, you said this, and that is why we did this. And that creates a really good vicious circle, and eventually brings in a loop of the kind of enthusiasm that you can create in them, and that keeps going on. community is more smarter than usually we are. So once you put this practice in them, all you have to do is listen to what they're saying, and they will induce enthusiasm in themselves.
Fair enough. Aishi, you want to contribute to that?
I think Prabhat, like,
All right,
he completed it pretty much. Yeah.
yeah, makes sense. I think I completely second that. And while that's a challenge for a lot of businesses, I think we, all of us collectively, are still learning how to keep them excited. But I think you just bank and kind of piggyback on people's passion and their willingness to learn, and keep giving them things that keep them excited rather than devising something that you think is right. Take the community first approach. Yeah, I think that sums it up pretty much. I want to wrap this, but before that, I want to say a huge thanks to Ayushi and Prabhat. I think I am very pleased that I did this first episode with the people I spend most of my time with at work. And thanks for putting this out to the community. I think they wanted to hear this from you firsthand, and I'm glad that they know we as a team are on board to having their best interest at heart, building things for them, and making sure that their feedback is not just listened but also acted upon. So
Definitely.
thanks a lot, everybody. Ayushi and thanks. Anything you want to say in your closing words or something?
Thank you for having us, Cherish. First of all, it is first time for me, but it was great. And all I would like to say is building community seems easy, but it's not that easy, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. Which I'm glad we have Cherish for that here. And all we expect to from people who are watching this or who will be sharing this or whatever is that you should, if you are into something, you should support it. You should communicate about it, tell people, talk about it, and don't be just like I am good with using it and I just don't want to go ahead with it and I just don't want to talk to someone else about it. And we are trying to build a community here. We'll be coming up with various competitions and various things in future also. So definitely stay tuned. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thanks. Awesome. Okay, Prabhat, any closing words? Or are we good to go?
All I would say is thank you so much for continuously indulging us and looking at our faces continuously must be irritating. That's why we'll have new people joining us every Friday, and I'm sure Cherish is going to stay. So best of luck to us, and thank you so much for being around.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Ayushi. Thanks, Prabhat. Thanks for your
Thank
time.
you so much,
Cool.
Harsh.
Awesome. Guys, all right. So I feel in case we have missed, I have a feeling we might have missed a few questions. And in case that is, that's what has happened, what I'll do is maybe I'll plug in my Discord link here and you can join our Discord. It's a very thriving community. We're adding people every day. And you can ask your questions there. We keep a tag of, like, we try and answer questions as quickly as we can. Feel free to tag me or my team anywhere. Furthermore, in case you've liked this session, we would really like to know, as you know, your feedback is core and gold for us. So I'll float a feedback form to all of you. It's there on your screen as well. Feel free to to fill this feedback form. Let us know what you think, things that can be improved, things that were already great, and we'll build based on what you think is right. Right. That is fantastic. And thanks everybody for joining. I'll see you next Friday with a new guest, same time, same day. Thanks again for joining and have a nice evening and happy weekend, you guys. Take care. Bye bye.